of, I guess, the payment structure. I think we're going to have like a free tier, but of course the rest of the code is free. So if you want to set up your own open web UI, you're more than welcome to do so.
Right, and so what are the main use cases for the current indexed node LM? So is it for like intelligence?
Yeah.
Kind of like analyzing the blockchain?
Yeah, I'm hoping to create sort of agents that will able to maybe say, hey, set up a grid trading bot for me, and then analyze the data for like the last couple of days, look at the grid trading bots and say, hey, okay, we're doing pretty well. Maybe let's update it, put more money into the grid trading bot for a specific pair, or be able to spend the boxes itself on, say, the Spectrum Finance. So be able to say, hey, go ahead and buy a specific pair. Maybe some sort of like update recursively, like every hour it checks, hey, should I buy, sell, hold, and sort of do that sort of mechanism. So allow the agents to be able to operate on chain per the prompt.
Oh, that's interesting. So yeah, it would be good to get some applications generated right by just prompting the LM.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, that's the next step, but we need to consider, right, some initial applications. But yeah, would be good to get, I don't know, like a new Oracle pool, for example, config for it, right, with just 1 or 2 prompts. So, well, to get data, some API client or scraper for some data, that's usually about just a few lines of code, right? And then, yeah, well, getting Oracle pool config done. So, well, set number of participants and so on. That's what we are discussing. For the upcoming version 2 of USD Oracle pool, well, what should be number of participants and so on, right? But then, yeah, in this case, we have quite complicated update procedure from version 1 to version 2. And, well, in case of generating a new pool, it would be good to have LM generating a config, right? And then we can do more, like generate stable coins, right? Because it's mostly about using a new Oracle and maybe tweaking parameters, right? Then, yeah, people may do some stable coins. More stable coins.
Yeah.
So on, yeah, and then some tooling like options, which could be nice, right? Because, well, originally, so options were created for, well, raising funds for agriculture industry, right? For farmers, but. Well, it's quite complicated instrument. It was. It used to be so. Well, only banksters can do options, right? And you need to have some big experience and so on to write down first option. But then, yeah, with LM, maybe it would be possible to avoid intermediaries, right? So, well. Farmer can just generate an option and launch it immediately on chain, right? Instead of dealing with banksters and paying a lot of money for that.
Mm-hmm. What's the resource requirements for setting up something like that?
So. Yeah, I think there is some database, right, with scenarios, okay. Right? So, well, what's up parameters? But here, Maybe, well, in case if it's possible to fit quite big database to LM, it could be better than a human, right, in writing options. Because, well, after all, it's not that... there is nothing magic here, right? It's not that complicated task for LM. Shouldn't be complicated. Should be doable. Something like
absolutely.
that. So
and
yeah. And
they have an MCP.
Sorry.
An MCP server for databases already. So, like for example, there's one for Postgres, and so you'll be able to facilitate, say, hey, what's in this data? Let's just generally analyze it, and then just give it sort of those, with the database name, all the APIs, keys, and things like that, and should be able to kind of parse that out in a lot easier fashion. I'm not sure what database you mentioned, but I would imagine they probably have one for that.
All right. How's the mining pool doing? 6 mining pool?
Yeah, we're doing good. Let's see. I think we're right about 90 gigahash at the moment. I'm currently working on updating the the web page for us, and so we kind of were thinking, this is sort of like the first sort of look for new miners, and so we really need to have something a little bit more polished for our website, and so I'm working on updating it. We have like the prototype in terms of UI and UX done, so now it's just working on the back end, and so I used lovable.dev to generate the front end, and then from there working with Cursor to facilitate the back end integration with the APIs from our mining pool that we have. So hopefully within a couple weeks we'll have that up and running and ready to go. But yeah, we're just we're mining away. Going to reach out to a couple other YouTube miners, see if we can get them on the peer-to-peer podcast and talk about mining, because it seems a lot of talk lately. Ergo is the last refuge for GPU miners, and so I'd like to capitalize on that sort of idea. And I think it's a great place to be, great place to mine, especially with Demirage. We handed out over 150 ergs this last week with Demirage rewards. Then of course we've got the bonus rewards coming through as well. So definitely we have the incentive there to mine to our pool compared to any other pool on Ergo, just because of the fact, let alone we have Demirage as well as the bonus tokens.
All right, nice. From my side, so preparing a new 6.0 release now. Well, syncing with the mainnet and fixing some issues on the way. So hard to predict when mainnet ready 6.0 would be released. So now, well, messing with some a little bit obscure issues. So yeah, a bit hard to predict, but anyway, it's close, and then we will start working with the mining pools on getting activation, setting activation date, and informing mining pools about the upcoming vote for protocol update, soft fork, 6.0 soft fork. So for sub blocks, peer-to-peer logic initial version is done. So in a few days we'll invite maybe 1 or 2 folks to participate in testing DevNet. Now with some peer-to-peer layer, so there is need for just like 2 or 3 people there to update the nodes constantly because it's still super raw and so on. But yeah, there is progress there. Aside of that, there is upcoming 5.0.26 node release. Now with long-awaited feature of candidate regeneration, so it would allow for faster confirmation of transactions. So with hard chance transaction will get into the next block. And then a lot of other fixes and small improvements there. So hopefully it will be released next week. Then a good report from Mu Finance, and there are a lot of updates in the ecosystem towards unrolling new releases and so on. I personally published a couple of new schemes on the forum. Maybe LM would be quite useful there as well, right? So for launching, for example, off-chain monetary systems for communities.
Yeah, absolutely.
We need first to find how to do that manually, right?
Right.
And then
it should be standardized in some way in how you set up off-chain bots, right?
a lot of updates in regards with development. A lot of talks. So I think also a lot of new contributors. So recently, so a lot of talks about what they're doing. So a lot of interesting things. So check developers chats and so on if you're interested.
So I have a question for you about with subblocks. How would the mempool work with subblocks being really quick confirmation times? Would there be sort of this new new idea with the mempool where it, because obviously they wouldn't be there that long for the confirmation. So is there going to be like a need intermediary between like the mempool and like confirmed, or how does that work?
In some regard, subblocks providing confirmations, right? But with higher rate of orphans, much higher rate, obviously. You may expect more rollbacks, right? So mempool would kind of buffer anyway, right? So when you are doing from one sub block to another, transactions are getting back to mempool, right? And you apply new transactions, but new right from a better chain, but sub block chain, but it could be that some transaction old fork would sit in the market waiting for newer blocks. It's more the same mechanics, right? But now
Gotcha.
higher speed. So there would be a need to have bigger memory usage subblocks, right? Space memory on mempool, right? Because in some sense about more or less same, right? after blocks, so you are putting with a mem sub blocks, and mempool would be smaller now.
Right. Okay.
Which is
yeah,
good.
that's kind of what I was thinking.
So yeah,
and then I guess with subblocks too, right? We'll probably get. Sorry, go ahead.
Because some algorithms efficient, right? In the mempool, so it would be good smaller. So well, think could be not that efficient there. Well, in comparison with having transactions in subblock. All right.
Gotcha. But I would imagine so with subblocks, right? We're probably going to get new APIs to be able to call, or are we going to have the same APIs from the node in the index nodes?
Be new APIs. Yeah, and some methods already implemented, but yeah, just 2, 3. So it's a very initial API. So in the first place, the fork would be on peer-to-peer, and then on API. For extra indices, that's still open. What it would like after all. Let's see. All right.
Cool.
Let me open the questions also. Do we have anything there? Oh, second.
Yeah, it looks like we have some in the chat. With the global economy looking like it is, looking like it's in for a tough time, do you think this will hurt or help crypto? I have no idea. What do you think?
Yeah, so sure about crypto should help Ergo, right? Well, it's counter-cyclical, right? Counter-cyclical. The problem is that currently the Ergo, in my opinion, kind of trapped, right? So it's considered crypto. And crypto is 99% useless, right? Well, it has some cyclical value, but yeah, mostly of buying Bitcoin and Monero, right? Using to bypass using Bitcoin for game, right, or hodling, and I think now also Monero, maybe some. There is proof of work. About some sovereign funds in East now looking for work beyond Bitcoin and so on. That not kind of activities that excite. So well, cryptocurrencies should in and should help better money in turbulent times. We have only kind of passive digital gold, right? So Bitcoin and Ergo was positioned initially earliest presentations back September, October 2019 as digital gold with contracts, right? So digital golds with an ability to create trustless derivative instruments on top of it. So then it's possible to do expansion to produce better for the real world. Well, to connect all IOUs, so created sample IOUs created within some T with chain reserves, right? To different economic connected. So that's possible with Ergo, but yeah, the problem is recognition now, I believe, right? So people are considering that there is crypto is, I don't know, doing something, but what exactly? I don't know what's the value proposition of crypto that these days aside of just speculative on assets. Some with assets. So yeah, but it's hopefully now we are tens of different entities around the globe. So let's see, it's early anything, but yeah, well, it's time. It's perfect time for Ergo to get recognized.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. For some reason, I see charts even, and join it. Oh, 1 second.
So we got another question. What sort of applications do you think will benefit from subblocks?
Exchange, I think, like DEX. And so on.
Yeah, totally. It's general transactions, right? We don't have to wait for like 30 minutes.
Yeah, maybe on ramp, right? So you don't have to wait for minutes, right? So when you with this person in the life, right, to check Ergo, for example, you don't need to try it for minutes. Yeah, recently a forum post on what well insurance for B for such deals, right? Then with sub-blocks, it's also quite fancy, right? So well, you can meet someone to get a bit exchanged for cash, and then you can get RS immediately, right, with sub-blocks. And not RSBT, but yeah, prompt basically to pay in RSBTC from locked utility. If no proof for Bitcoin transfer is printed, right, within certain time frame, like 6 hours, for example, 12 hours. So the worst block time I've on the Bitcoin chain about 4 hours, I believe, but often you need to wait for 2 hours, right? It's quite often Bitcoin blockchain, or when you exchange well cash for Bitcoin, wait for confirmation it quite painful.
Right. So everything should be a lot faster, from like Rosen to sending TXs. Even I guess our mining pool, when we distribute ERG, everything will be a lot faster, right?
Yeah, well, about Rosen, I'm not sure because it seems that they're for quite long time to exclude any security risk, right, on the blockchain. So it's about Ergo.
Well, sure. There should still be some like speed up though, right? Just because from a TX perspective, like once they're done with the security aspects and like, just from like, I would imagine maybe it's minimal just from like, I don't really know what goes on behind the scenes, but I would imagine just because you can transact faster, at least on the Ergo side, it'll be a little bit faster, maybe not super noticeable.
Let's see. Maybe it's help bit. Well, in regards with mining pools, I'm not sure. It's probably the same, right? So, I don't know. It's the 6 mining pool specifically, but for other, it's usually just like few actions with few inputs and very many outputs to mine, right? And they're doing such transactions, I don't know, like twice a day, something like that, right? And then, from sub, not getting that much, right? So you just transactions to the network, and they get into a block.
Payments would be a lot faster for sure.
In few minutes, and if it's not few minutes but faster, it's the same, right? Most of miners are not for payments like every few seconds anyway. So every few minutes even, so they're checking like once a day. So maybe it's more or less the same after all. But for trade and so on, it's better. And there were some games which now could be revived, like one it's by Haley, with some kind of thing. I forgot the name even. It could be revived now on subblocks, I believe. Something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I think that, like you said, like, an on-ramp system would be interesting. Like Stripe has a payment system where a lot of people have been using that for their vibe-coded games and things like that, where they put the payment in there, put your credit card. So it'd be interesting, especially with subblocks where you could reduce the settlement time, be able to use Stripe, be able to build something to on-ramp. So then people pay in USD and then you can send them ERG or whatever they want. Maybe something with Rosen as well. For other specific coins or tokens. Cool. We have a question. How does one get started with vibe coding for Ergo Tree and React? So I guess for React, I would probably suggest using Cursor, but of course there's other AI agent coding frameworks that you could use. That's just something I use. You could also just use the native Anthropic Claude, Claude.com. And so basically, and I would even just look at the landscape. So Grok is actually really good as well. And so some LLMs are better than others at doing specific tasks. So I would maybe kind of play around with those sort of notions. And so sometimes what I like to do is I'll go in one LLM like Claude Sonnet 3.7 and say, hey, I need to write a prompt to do this. So for example, I wanted to make Sigmanauts mining pool. I took a screenshot of our current dashboards. I was able to say, hey, grab all these metrics, understand what they are, make them into a README document, and then build some sort of markdown structure and design of how it works and what we need, and then write this prompt. I then took that prompt and put it into lovable.dev, and then lovable.dev then created and generated the entire UI for me in UX. And so React, if you wanted to make a web page, you could do that as well. I did the same thing with this airdrop tool that I made for like NFTs and tokens, so you can mass distribute that to people. So in short, you can use lovable.dev to maybe stand up some sort of front end. You can then push that to GitHub, pull that into Cursor, and then develop the back end. So there's a lot of different ways you can swing with it. And so I would probably suggest sort of come up with a simple project and then kind of try different LLMs and kind of see what works for you, and kind of go from there. In terms of Ergo Tree, that is something I think we're kind of still working on. I haven't really been working on that too specifically, but really what you need there is the context. And so as long as you have the specific context, so like for Ergo script, you can, give it GitHub repos that have like legitimate smart contracts, and you could say, hey, this is example code. This is sort of what I want to do. And then again, also maybe you could say these example code, make diagrams out of it so it makes sense, and make sure it understands the UTXO model. And this is kind of what we're trying to do with the Ergo MCP. And so it gives the context to the LLM, and then from there, when you actually prompt it, and it probably won't be a one shot like, hey, make this contract for like a dead man switch. So if I die, I publish this stuff to the blockchain, right? Probably it's going to be some fine tuning, some tweaking, but I think it could potentially get you maybe 50 to 70% of the way, and then the rest you can kind of have to test out for yourself. So, but again, I think it's all about playing around and testing it, kind of thinking, absolutely. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Kushti? Have you tried vibe coding at all? Any AI tools have you used?
So I've tried to do some core development using SOR and Sonnet 3.5,
Okay.
I believe. So it's and I'll also try to do some conts, not works, but tests actually for chain cache and actually I've forgotten. So all tests, it's working very well. Generated some tests planned for change with just Google prompt, and it's worked immediately. Oh, yeah, it was very nice experience. But for development, it seems it's not computable, so hallucinate.
Right.
Well, quite subtle, but you are spending a lot of time to figure out what's wrong with them. So, so sometimes it's producing some complicated code. It's looking okay from the first, but then you realize there are some subtle bugs actually.
It's definitely kind of an art,
tests. Yeah, but for tests, it's working really great. So most of time, I think tests now could be saved, right? And actually, it's quite a big time saver because all tests also are quite complicated. For nodes and for the interpreter, and for cache and Dexy, all tests are weathered, but length 3 or 4 lines of code per test easily. It could be because you need to assemble a transaction, right? According to different conditions and so on, then check exceed or fail. And then Yeah, with the help of LM, you can save many hours actually on that. So yeah, that's quite great tooling for standard coding, standard kinds of coding,
Yeah,
like and yeah,
yeah, it's
maybe
fantastic.
API. I will try next to do my API methods. LM,
Yeah, it's certainly
but
worth
yeah, for
exploring for sure.
complicated stuff. Yeah, well, algo heavy. Yeah, it's not that good, but yeah, that's quite
Yeah.
expected also, right?
Yeah, and it's like most tools, right? Not every tool is a hammer, right? And so if you treat every tool like it's a hammer, it's bound to break, it's bound to not work. And so knowing when to use AI and when not to use AI is definitely a good skill to have. And then I think relative to the more complex problems, even with like Ergo script, for example, it just doesn't have a lot of the context that it needs. Like, so for example, like Python, it's trained on a lot of Python code within GitHub. There's so much lines on there, whereas Ergo script, there's obviously not too much. And so there's a notion to where maybe we need to fine tune a specific model so we can train, say, hey, this is how you make this specific contract. This is how you make this contract. And so that's something else what we're also looking at. I think MCPs might be able to get us there, but before we do that, but if somebody else wants to do that, by all means, send it. We have about 190 ergs when we're ready to test and generate smart contracts, and so that we're going to pay some auditors. So once we get there, we can pay some folks to audit them, pay them for their time, and then hopefully the output is sufficient for what we're working with. But only time will tell. Let's see what else we have.
All right, but so it's for more. Yes, do you hear me, Mark?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yep. Can you hear me?
Yeah. So to it more. Yeah. So you have a lot of open applications, open contracts, and so on. So then yeah, it would be very helpful to LM, right, to produce Ergo script LM. I believe.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
yeah, definitely. And I think from a fine tuning perspective, it's probably sufficient with the contracts that we have on the chain right now, or rather open source. So then that way, it doesn't sort of get super confused. You can really like hone in, so to speak, on these specific contracts and how they're written and how they're executed. And so, but I guess the problem might be, and so it could maybe overfit. So for example, if you have like a pin lock contract it was trained on, and then you say, hey, make me another pin lock contract with a little bit more extendedness, it will probably do that really well. But if you try to say, hey, make me write like a dead man switch, so to speak, right, it might not know how to do that explicitly. And then again, but I think the goal isn't to one shot these smart contracts. That's not my goal. My goal is to make it 50 to 75% easier to write the smart contracts. And so if I can get 50 to 75% to like say the first draft of the smart contract, that works for me, because then I can finesse it or whatever it needs to do. Ash Kushti, right? Hey, well, what's going on here? So that's sort of my goal. It sort of speeds up the smart contract timeline of development. And that would be pretty powerful, I think, so then, more folks helps democratize in some sense, sort of these coding abilities, maybe. And maybe not everybody should be making smart contracts, I suppose. There's some sort of notion of security and safety, I guess, with that sort of respect, but would be cool. So somebody else says, let's see. I know we don't do wash trading or other nonsense like some other chains, but Ergo and associated dApps been stress tested at any point. So I'm not sure. Have we done any sort of stress test? I mean, I know, for example, people have tried to stress test, fitting the most amount within a given box relative to a given transaction. So like, you know, sending one input to like 10,000 outputs, I suppose.
So about stress tests, they well,
How do you stress test the blockchain, I guess?
stress testing events, but yeah, so for kind of synthetic stress testing, I'm not aware of efforts, but yeah, there were a lot of discussions,
Right.
and I think for sub-blocks, yeah, there would be needed to do testnet stress testing, but first we need to get more realistic testnet topology, so invite more folks to the testnet, right? Because it doesn't make sense to stress testing. So that's the problem with many actually papers and so on, white papers claiming some high TPS. So when you realize what they're doing, they just have few nodes or even many nodes over the same data center. And then it doesn't make sense because it's not looking like a real peer-to-peer network, right? So first we need to get a little bigger testing network, but that's doable, and then we can do stress testing.
Yeah, that'd be cool to do, you know, especially to be able to, I mean, I think you made a good point, right? The testnet topology, like say, for example, if I wanted to test out one input to 10,000 outputs, like where would I even get all the 10,000 addresses? I mean, I guess you generate them, but, you know, how would you do that?
Yeah, so for mainnet there were some stress tests for many outputs, and one actually broken many nodes because of some blocking light clients actually, but those light clients then broke full clients and so on. And then many pools were struggling. Basically nodes were restarting with out of memory, but that was like 4 years ago, so like 2021. It was Aneta. Some Aneta airdrop, and after that the network survived somehow, but many nodes were under pressure, after that we did some fixes, and after that I can't remember. So there were many events like airdrops and there was some events when a few thousand of transactions was sent to the network at one shot, but everything was eaten smoothly by the network. So
in terms of testnet, I'd love to set up a SIG mining pool testnet, and then that'd be kind of interesting. Easier to set up, maybe, I don't know. Let's see. So we got a couple questions on subblocks. So will subblocks affect scalability? You know, what if 1 billion people are using Ergo, and then can subblocks TXs be chained within a single block?
Sorry, single block?
Yeah, so can subblocks TXs be chained within a single block?
Yeah, but so transactions can be chained in a single sub block, right? And yeah, single block also, because yeah, well, a block would be just a sequence of sub blocks mostly for most of transactions. But yeah, well, about billions people. So still, there is need for layer twos, and not just because of TPS. So I think that would be quite natural design. So today I tweeted, well, diagram of how Havala system works. Right, conceptually. So it's about, you know, some global network, and then yeah, local segments connected to local Havaldar. So yeah, local exchange booth. So yeah, well, I believe it should be the same here, right? So when you have some local segment which is mostly exchanging with well, people, actors, agents, mostly exchanging within this segment. So they need for some off-chain solution, right? There is no need for global consensus.
Right.
When you buy coffee, right, from some local supplier, I mean, why do you need for global consensus? Why some
Right.
I don't know, miner in Argentina and some well, Ergo enthusiasts in Vietnam or India or China should know about that even, right? So well, such economic activity should be localized, I believe, right? Ledger wise also. And then yeah, well, on for global consensus we need to have some, I don't know, events which are really needed there, right, on the global level.
Yeah.
Such
Yeah, that
as
makes a lot of sense.
that's yeah. So I mean,
I haven't really thought about it in terms of the global consensus sort of versus like local. That's a good way to put that, because I mean, totally, like, why, you know, from a local, you know, hey, I'm buying coffee, like, why does the global Ergo chain kind of care about that? You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, just do it off chain, and then, you know, have that sort of segment do that. That makes a lot of sense.
yeah, I mean, maybe there is need for some settlements and clearing, right, between different local segments and so on, and then yeah, there is need for global consensus. There is need for global consensus, maybe in regards with some global events and so on. But yeah, well, for most of activities, like real world activities, I believe there is no need for global consensus or immediate direct global consensus, right? So there is no need to write that you bought a cup of coffee, right, from some local supplier.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's cool. Yeah, I haven't really thought about that. That's cool.
yeah, that doesn't make sense economically even, right? And not technically even.
Right. Yeah, I mean, even in the United States, right? We got the federal government, but then we also have our local governments, and then our, you know, city government. So it makes sense, right? The federal government doesn't really care what we do, like, you know, so to speak, on certain local perspectives. So it makes sense to, as we scale up, right, we continue sort of to offload specific aspects to these sort of other layers.
Yeah. All right.
Cool.
So one more question. Have some.
Looks like, let's see. How can both Ergo and Cardano collaborate with each other from a transaction happen on the chain, on the respective chain? So I guess we're kind of doing that with Rosen.
Rosen, yeah, but what I thought about actually is can we have multi-chain Hydra, for example? And as Cardano is supporting the elliptic curve used in Ergo, SEP to 56K1, I guess that's doable in some form. Well, I need to recheck the Hydra paper, but that would be quite interesting, right? When you may have some off-chain high-speed rails, basically for financial and not just financial transactions, powered from both the chains at the same time. So, well. It would be interesting. Maybe it could be collateralized right from both the chains. So, well, outcomes may happen on both the chains. So some on Ergo side, some on Cardano side. Well, the question is for some like real world use cases, right? Not to have it just as quite I don't know, exciting toy. But yeah, well, right. it sounds interesting at least. So, and yeah, well, let's see. But yeah, well, I think well, in regards with such stuff, there are a lot of technical opportunities between well, Ergo, Cardano, and other UTXO blockchains.
Okay, awesome. Awesome.
Right.
Yeah, and then just one last quick question, I guess. When is the next P2P podcast? Yeah, we need to sit down and record that. Me and Tim have just been busy kind of working on a few things. So hopefully within this next week, we'll get something out to you guys.
All right. So do you have a guest?
We don't. We'll either just do it with us or you're welcome to come on and we'd be happy to chat with you.
Yeah, so we can do one, let me think. So, yeah, the best time would be around, April 19th, Saturday, or, well, Friday before 18th, so something like that. Yeah, would be quite good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll reach out to Tim and then we'll start a group chat.
But what can we talk about? I can maybe prepare some cool stuff in advance. So I can check the Hydra paper and we can have a talk about different off-chain systems. So, well, recently I've published that off-chain design, a new one. It was a forum post on Monday. So the idea is to have a layer 2 where participants may create IOUs, so money off-chain, right, and then have on-chain redemption for them, right? So it's kind of a reverse of ordinary off-chain cash schemes such as Fedimint or Cashew for Bitcoin, where you have on-chain reserves and mint nodes against them, right? So always redeemable nodes. So here, yeah, you are going opposite. So it's not always redeemable, maybe, but you have more money off chain, which also does make sense, I believe, in real world applications. But then, yeah, I'm also interested in those schemes like Cashew, Fedimint, Screed Cash, Lightning Network a little bit, but yeah, to me it seems limited. Then what? Then Hydra and so on. So like states channel kind of systems, and more so. I think there could be maybe hundreds of different designs. It would be good to think how to make them interoperable. And there are more. So, for example, there is Arc on Bitcoin. I'm studying a little bit, but yeah, it's hard to say, and it looks quite messy. I even asked in the group recently, do they have any white paper and security analysis, and it seems not really. So just messy writings and some codes. You need to figure out how secure it is by your own. And sometimes some issues found there, so but still could be considered as well. And as I said, there could be hundreds of different off-chain designs with properties. Maybe it's worth to somehow classify them and maybe have auto generation of chain systems. So after Lightning Network failure, which is what we are witnessing, I think even Bitcoin Maxis would be quite open to more off-chain solutions. They open even now, so it seems Arc, for example, is getting there from my observations after visiting some Bitcoin Layer 2 events. I mean, real Layer 2s like we may discuss off-chain schemes, but we may discuss other topics as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, I think the ground is super fertile, and so we'll be excited to explore that here with you.
Absolutely. All right. Keep in touch then.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's see. I think one last question. I know I said the last time, but someone said how to incentivize testnet mining. I just had this idea, and so we could, if we had a Sigmanauts testnet mining pool, we could see if your address, or you could prove somehow you're mining to our pool on testnet and mainnet, and then maybe we could give you like bonus tokens or something like that for mining on both of our pools, testnet and mainnet. So that's maybe a way to incentivize that. But in any case, we can explore that.
I actually had an idea to build first trustless pack between Ergo mainnet and Ergo testnet, right? And then we can bring the testnet Erg to the mainnet, and then it's up to people how to incentivize. So maybe some people may put Erg along with testnet Erg into a liquidity pool and so on. Right. Interesting to see possible experiments.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fun to experiment.
And by the way, I have some question, if you mind, the last maybe. So, what's six mining pool doing with the tokens they got from storage rent? Any plans or any actions already aside of that PHP?
Yeah, for sure. So we launched PHP. Let's see, probably a few months ago, and then Cannon locked that up into a liquidity pool with most of it, and so we're distributing some of it to the miners. We're distributing. Let's see, I think it's on Spectrum. So that's like out live in the ecosystem, repurposed. We have a couple tokens kind of here and there. So we have like Carbage 1, an Oracle, Test 1 and 2, Felter Snatch. So nothing really, I guess, of note. But we'd be happy, I suppose, if somebody was interested, sell them on Mu Finance, maybe bundle them all up, get it to the mining pool, and then we distribute that into the miners. But the PHP token is the only token where we've got the totality of all of the supply for a given token. And then that's where we're like, hey, let's go ahead and launch something. It's been actually really great so far. I think the liquidity pool is like 20,000 or something like that for PHP. So that's kind of neat to see. Interesting.
Oh, yeah, nice.
and some other random tokens I'm looking at now.
Yeah, but it seems a lot of
Lots of
tokens going to the pool, right? So you are collecting all the tokens first, right, and then decide what to do. Like to burn.
Yeah, so we.
To sell.
Yeah, well, I guess token wise, we haven't really set like any rules or stuff. Whether do we want to burn it? Right now, it's just sitting in our wallet aside from PHP, and then the erg is distributed based upon the block and the miner's payout of that, which is equivalent to their participation. So, for example, if you got 50% of the reward, we're going to weight that one for 50%, and then the next block is say 40%, and then we kind of average that with the rest of everybody else, and then once a week on Tuesdays we airdrop that to everybody, and then the pool will start taking 1% of that.
All right. Yeah, good. Okay, so
yeah, so we're rocking and rolling, so yeah, we got 150 last week. We probably got over maybe like 500 ergs since we have started. Probably more than that.
Oh,
sure.
Nice.
So it's a nice incentive for our pool for sure.
And and I guess already maybe hundreds of kilobytes of garbage cleaned out, right?
Yeah.
From the Utexo set.
Yeah, definitely. It's pretty neat to see. It's cool to see. And then I guess relative to the Sigmanauts mining pool update is we're kind of debating right now, do we open source it? Do we the Demirage collection, do we create the steps? And I think a lot of the miners are kind of under the impression like, hey, this is kind of what makes us marketable. Most of everything's on is open source, but we're not going to explicitly give you guys the steps, I suppose, at least for the time being. So we're going to continue to build what they call the moat between us and other pools to kind of make us more marketable and bring more miners in. And then once I think we are sufficient there, we'll then distribute that or make the steps, I guess, more transparent. But feel free if you want to. If you disagree with us and you're in the in the mining pool, definitely reach out. We are going to put it to a vote, and then from there, just I guess reach out if you disagree, don't like that. But that's kind of what this isn't necessarily just my opinion. This is like other people's opinions within the pool. So it's definitely a collective thought. Although I think QXO is very wanting to release it to the general community. But again, it's all open source. So if somebody really wanted to try to do it, they could. So it's not like any of it's closed source at the
moment. Yeah. So, yeah, let's see how's it going. All right. Cool. So let's wrap up with this.
All right. Yeah, that sounds good. Well, it's nice chatting with you, Kushi. Thanks for the questions, everybody.
Yeah. Good to see. The format and the team always changing, right? And always building at the same time. Have a good day, Mark, and have a good day, guys.
Yeah,
see you
everybody.
next week.